its own on Monday. Calls to St. Joe's, however, to discuss the increased measures today were not returned. Well, it has been a busy winter season for fire investigators throughout the state so far. There's usually an increase in chimney or wood stove fires as the temperatures drop, but 2 weeks ago, fire investigators dealt with 23 fires in just 7 days. Fire Marshal Joe Thomas says that's the busiest he remembers in his 40-year career. He says a lot of the fires were caused by carelessness. Now, among the fires that have recently popped up around Maine, one that broke out in Exeter just last night. Today, investigators were back on the scene trying to determine what caused the Full Gospel Church of Exeter to catch fire. Flames completely destroyed one wall of the church, and its directors are just thankful that things didn't turn out much worse. News Center's Mike DeSuma with more now.
They got a hold of my brother, and he told me, you need to get to church because the church is on fire.
Wondering and worrying about how much was going to burn.
Hours after flames swept through the First Gospel Church of Exeter, Pastor Chris Falloon surveys the damage left behind. Monday night, he was out of town when the massive fire broke out, calling more than 40 firefighters to the scene.
The crews were already here. They were here very fast. They beat me here, actually, so...
Before becoming pastor, Falloon was a longtime member of the church. Now he and his wife Jody and their children live right next door to it. The pastor says as he watched the fire burn, he feared for the worst.
Wondering if it was going to, totally destroy the church, or would they be able to stop it. There's a couple times where it looked like they weren't going to be able to.
Thankfully, fire crews managed to keep the water coming, and after 2 hours, the fire finally was knocked down.
Just thankful that everybody was safe. There were no people inside to have to rescue.
Pastor Falloon says he also feels the weather played a big part in what happened here last night. The wind was blowing from the front of the church towards its back. That kept the flames contained to the rear of the building and away from the sanctuary. And while one side of the church was badly damaged, church directors say they hope they can rebuild from what's left.
We're expecting to be able to remove all the damage and remodel inside and continue on.
Hopefully putting what was one long night behind them. In Exeter, Mike DeSuma, News Center.
Now, firefighters suspect the fire was caused by a wood stove in the church basement, but the state fire marshal's office is continuing to investigate at this time to get an official cause. Now, Pastor Falloon says the church was fully insured. He says leaders in Exeter have graciously offered him space to hold Sunday services for now. This Sunday, the congregation will be meeting at the Exeter School. Well, since Forgotten Felines of Maine first started taking cats back...
This is WABI TV 5 News at 6.
A congregation in Exeter is counting their blessings after a fire at their church last night.
While services will be held at another location for a while, the damage could have been much worse. Morgan Small reports.
Someone knocked on the door of a passerby, and they said, you have flames coming out of the back, and I looked out and saw that there was quite a good-sized fire started and called 911, and I heard that another neighbor had already called.
Thanks to a quick response from several departments, the fire at the Full Gospel Church Monday night was contained to the back of the building. Tuesday morning, the church's pastor made another call.
About 10 o'clock, I noticed a little bit of smoke coming from the attic again, so things were starting to heat up a little bit.
Firefighters came back to make sure the fire hadn't rekindled. Corinna Assistant Fire Chief Sean Richards says they have an idea of what caused it.
It looks or appears that it may have been a wood stove that started in the back of the building that was in the basement, worked its way up through the walls to the attic.
State fire investigators are working to confirm that theory. As for services at the church,
the town of Exeter has offered to allow us to hold our meetings in the town function room, so I think that is probably our plan at this point, to continue on our services. It's difficult to see, the damage to the building. There was a special painting of the cross that was painted by someone in the area when the church was built that is burned. That was a special thing to a lot of us, a special, irreplaceable and piece of art that was always behind our podium.
Their community has already reached out to the congregation.
Exeter is a little town, but, it's like one big family. And I've already got calls from businesses, and people have stopped in. Some who helped to build the church back in the late 40s. There's already calls and offers of help and support.
Knowing the outcome could have been much worse is keeping them in good spirits.
In the end, it's just things, it's wood, it's structure, and everyone's safe, and we'll go on. There is an optimism there. I'm sure that things will, with some hard work and elbow grease and support, we will continue on.
Morgan Small, WABI TV5 News, Exeter.
And if you'd like to make a donation to the church, you can send it to the Full Gospel Church, P.O. Box 24, Exeter, Maine, 04435. You can also call them at 379-2661.
Education and paying back Maine's hospital debt. That's what lawmakers are expected to hear tonight in Governor LePage's State of the State address.
That crash remains under investigation tonight. Nearly 3 weeks after fire destroyed a Full Gospel Church of Exeter, the congregation continues on. That fire severely damaged one side of the building, and after inspection, that church will have to demolish the entire structure. But even in light of the unexpected tragedy, the congregation never let one Sunday pass without holding their sermon. News Center Samantha Edwards has their story.
In the wake of a fire that destroyed their church, this congregation continues to sing their praise. The Full Gospel Church will need to rebuild after the flames damaged the building, but the members say a church is more than just four walls.
It doesn't matter what our home looks like, it's wherever 2 or 3 are gathered together in His name, there He is. We loved our little church, but we serve the Lord here just the same as we would serve Him in church.
The church meets for Sunday service at the Exeter School, a smaller room with folding chairs instead of pews. But the hymns, lessons, and meaning remain the same.
We understand, that the church is more than wood and sheetrock and all that thing, and we are optimistic.
Positive thinking seems to be key. Members like Janet Foster try to find the good in this unfortunate situation.
I'm just thankful that we have this place here that we can come to worship, and we haven't missed a Sunday worship.
There were some members that shed tears for the memories the old building held.
It's difficult because you have all of those years of memories of the sanctuary, the people there, and those who were our parents and grandparents that had built the place.
The church plans to rebuild their house of worship to resemble the old one. It'll just take a little time and some faith.
In life, you never know what is gonna happen or hit. We know that in our spirits, that He's going to help us to do what we need to do to go on.
In Exeter, Samantha Edwards, News Center.
The church will continue to hold Sunday services at the Exeter School. If you'd like to help or send a letter of encouragement to the church, we've posted their address on our websites. 6:28, the full forecast is next. Kelly, the storm appears to be winding down, but people will probably be dealing with the after effects.
Of people. Nearly 3 weeks after a fire destroyed the Full Gospel Church of Exeter, the congregation continues on. The fire damaged one side of the building quite a lot, and after inspection, the church will have to demolish the entire structure. Now, even in the light of this unexpected news, the congregation continues to hold its sermon every Sunday. The church is now meeting at the Exeter School, just down the road from the old church. A lot of church members give thanks for still having a place to gather. They add that they are doing their best to stay optimistic, noting that the church is more than just a structure with 4 walls.
It doesn't matter what our home looks like, it's wherever 2 or 3 are gathered together in His name, there He is.
In life, you never know what is gonna happen or hit. Like even as a church or a religious organization, God doesn't spare us from what you might think of as a bad or negative thing.
Now, the folks in the congregation say they plan to build a new church, which will resemble the old one. It may have been a tourney week and weekend, but there's more than just basketball going on. High school